What is the weirdest thing you've heard or had happen to you while using a public restroom? NSW. I was at a festival in NSW a few years ago and saw the wildest thing at one of the portable troughs. That counts as a public restroom, right? It was right at the end of the night, just after the last band had played, so my mate and I went for a pee. As we did, some poor soul's hat had fallen into the trough, probably a few hours prior to us being there. It was drenched in pee, so we thought, hey, a target, and started aiming at it. As we do, we hear some bloke, very happily yelling, making friends, saying day to everyone as he made his way over to the trough. Clearly very high, MDMA I'm guessing. We walks in, stands between me and my mate, lets out a "G'day boys, how are we?" and throws his arms over our shoulders. Bit weird cause we had our dongs out, but ultimately a bit of harmless, spontaneous mateship, until he notices the hat we were still in the process of pee on. He glances at it for just a second, then yells, "Frick yeah, free hat," before slapping through my pee trail, grabbing it, and slapping it on his head with the most unforgettable squelch I have ever heard. He looks at me, stares me dead in the eye while beads of literal pee begin to roll down his forehead, and lets out what can only be described as SpongeBob's laugh if he had been of a 4-day bender, then just walked off into the crowd. My mate and I stood laughing in shock for a few minutes before we could process what the frick we just saw. Funniest part was that he didn't even pee. Think he was just too cooked and distracted by his newfound piece of attire. God bless you, pea hat man, wherever you may be. I completely skipped over reading the word hat and I seriously thought you were talking about some people who fell in the trough and you were gonna pee on said people who have been somehow unconscious in the trough for hours. I had the pleasure of hearing some poor soul trying to pass a kidney stone in a movie theater restroom. His screams would have scared the crap out of me if that wasn't why I was in there in the first place. At a heavy metal concert, Fear Factory Ministry me sugar for what it's worth, and I'm in the stall poopin'. Concert hasn't started yet. I hear this convo out by the urinals. OUHH. Sorry man. Sal right. It's a nice dong isn't it? Sure. Hey bro. Nice dong. Some guy in the Seattle Greyhound station OD'd in the women's bathroom and I had to call 911. The paramedics moved him to the lobby where he died while we were waiting for our bus. I was 16. Definitely don't miss that Greyhound station. Worked for a really large company and decided to use the restroom near the boardroom, more private. When I walked in, one of our board members is at a urinal wearing a suit and jacket, with his pants and undies dropped all the way to the ground. Apparently that is how this 70-year-old man has peed his entire life. Just odd. Click here for 10 things every CEO does to maximize each day. Went to a public bathroom at a restaurant stop in rural China. I was peeing on a squatter toilet and a woman come in and squat on the one beside me. There is no barrier between us, we could touch hands if we both put our arms out. Anyways, she starts taking a dump with all the noises and I had to get out real quick. More of a culture shock thing since she was completely fine with it. I was driving between Houston and Austin and stopped at a gas station to go pee. I do my business and start washing my hands when I looked up and saw a man covered head to toe in burn marks staring at me from a stall. I didn't hear or see anyone when I went inside, so I literally jumped and ran out of there. I still feel bad about it, but I like to tell myself it was a ghost so I don't feel like such an butthole. I just wanted a friend. I was in the bathroom of a movie theater peeing in a urinal when I felt something tug on my shirt. I turned around and there was this little kid, had to be younger than 5. He asked if I could hold him up so he can pee in the urinal next. We are the only ones in this bathroom and I'm peeing hard because I just got out of a movie. I had such a dad moment though because I said ask your mom. He said okay and skipped out of the bathroom. I didn't even wash my hands. I just wanted to be out of there before a Dateline camera crew showed up. All these comments saying I was peeing and turned around I'm imagining as a full body turn while still peeing, now on the floor or person behind them. We had a company all hands meeting at our artisan theater that was way too far from our office to be cool. So after a 4-hour session of watching executives pat themselves on the back, We were finally turned loose and started the long walk back to the office. I had to pee like crazy, so me and another guy stopped into a bar. Happened to be a gay bar, about 5 PM on a weekday. When I went into the bathroom, the urinal was one of those steel troughs bolted to the wall, and there was a shirtless man laying in the urinal, with 2 dudes peeing on him. I really had to go, but noped out of that whole scene and used the toilet stall with no door on it. I could speculate why they took the doors off, but I'd rather not. When I got done, I turned around and the guy I worked with was zipping up at the urinal. Waking back to the office was pretty quiet. Eventually I just asked, "Did you pee on that guy?" He said yeah in this quiet voice that didn't invite further discussion. I was at a goth club and I was nauseous because I drank too many gin and tonics, so I went to the bathroom to take a crap. My stomach hurt so I was rubbing my belly like a cartoon character as I waited for a stall to open. A gay Asian guy in bondage gear, not odd for the location, walked up to me and said, "Oh honey, stomach ulcers," and gave me a hug and patted my back. I didn't have a stomach ulcer but I was very compelled to hug back because I appreciated the sympathy. He then walked off without saying anything else. Seemed like a good guy. Goth clubs are very odd. Really nice people but look scary. The bathroom was unisex and some girl couldn't wait and was using the sink. I had to go so I didn't care and found the urinal, did my business and left. My under 18 self stopped at a public park restroom to take a pee. A guy perhaps in his mid 60s sidled up to me, smiled, and looked my junk up and down in the urinal. I left. Next time pee on him. Not necessarily a public restroom. I worked at a financial company with over 2,000 people in one office. There are around 10 different bathrooms in the building, all with multiple stalls urinals. Anyway, I was on my break and ran to the bathroom to relieve myself. I saw someone in one of the stalls because feet and doors were closed. As I walk up to the urinal, I hear the guy sneeze. I say bless you like people do for some reason. Guy in the stall hits me back with, "That wasn't a sneeze. I just left and went to a different bathroom." Not me but it happened to my son. He was about 4 maybe 5 at the time. We were on vacation in San Francisco CA. We were on Fisherman's Wharf and my son and I went in to use the restroom. It was cool and rainy day and the tile floors were wet. We go in a stall so he could pee as all the urinals were taller than him. So he drops trough and hikes up his shirt and jacket and saddles up to the toilet and he starts peeing. Well, he is on his tippy toes and all of a sudden he is head first in the toilet. He slipped and nosedived into the toilet. He was soaked head to waist. I get him out of the toilet. I'm struggling so hard trying not to laugh. I get him out and strip his shirt and jacket off of him and just put them in the trash and wash and dry him off. Take my jacket and put it on him. He's crying and I'm dying from laughter inside. We get out of the bathroom and head to the nearest store and get him a new shirt and jacket. Then find my wife and daughter, who both proceeded to ask why he was in all new clothes. Then once I tell them they start laughing. He still hates when I bring up the time he fell into the toilet at Fisherman's Wharf. Edit. Wow, thank you everyone for the ups and awards. My daughter fell in the toilet at home. She wouldn't use a toddler seat. Her butt went in the cold toilet water and the rest of her was wedged in the seat opening. It happened years ago and she's still upset about it. I'll have to tell her it could have been worse. I was pooping and let out a really violent fart and someone outside said bet that burned and he sounded like Larry the Cable Guy. Better get some Prilosec for that bucko. M head in a Toronto second cup bathroom warned me that dolphins are not to be trusted and told me about how they're mind controlling humans while I peed. He's not wrong. It was the middle of the day but it was at a casino. I was at the urinal. There was a guy a couple of urinals away that was obviously drunk. Nothing too crazy, just a lot of swaying. He may have lowered his pants which would also be crazy. He suddenly got the urge to vomit, so he spun around to puke in a toilet. Vomit and urine started erupting as the guy got tangled up in his pants and fell over. He didn't get knocked out or anything. As I walked out I thought, I really hope that guy has a room here and I really hope no one is waiting for him outside the bathroom, for example. Wife, sneak back to the room, shower, burn your clothes, and hit the sack. Ugh, that poor bastard. I was fricked like that after a surgery, not from drinking, just my body processing anesthetics in the most inconvenient way. Was pee at a urinal and the guy next to me said don't judge me. I'm a grown not a shower. I mostly ignored him. Then he asked me if I wanted to buy some weed from him. But before I could answer, which would have been no, he said well it isn't real weed. It's fake weed. Doesn't actually get you high. It's what I smoke when I'm practicing guitar. Keep it weird Austin. He was definitely getting high off his own supply. Once upon a time I was in Europe and accidentally locked myself inside of a stall that had a toilet I couldn't figure out how to flush, and then a door I couldn't figure out how to open. I had to climb over the stalls because the gap wasn't big enough below. So I'm making my great escape and some dude walks up to the stall and I make a small noise. He looks up and I just hope he has forgotten it by now. When I was 7, I went to Italy for the first time and locked myself in so many janky bathrooms that my mom stopped letting me go by myself. She would wait outside to make sure I got out okay. Was using the urinal in the Port Authority men's room when some random guy walks up behind me and says, in a raspy voice, "Hey kid, I like your hair still peeing." I turn around and say thanks, and he says, "You like pineapple?" Caught off guard I ask, "What? Pineapple?" At this point I'm zipping my pants back up and starting to turn around to face him. He then points to underneath the wall of the first bathroom stall to a black plastic bag, like one from the liquor store, and says, "Yeah, you wanna buy one?" I got one right there. It's delicious sure enough. There's a black plastic bag with a pineapple sticking out of it on the floor of the Port Authority men's room. I told him I was allergic to pineapple. He seemed shocked and, quite frankly, really sad that I couldn't eat his delicious pineapple, and we parted ways. This is pretty tame for a story that began with using the urinal in the Port Authority men's room when some random guy walks up behind me and says, I was in a stall at work browsing Reddit after using the toilet and just killing time until my break was over, when what can I only tell was a somewhat older man shuffling his way over to the stall next to mine. He then lets out a thunderous fart and sits on the toilet and moans out, "Oh dear God, it's the end of days." I immediately put myself together and left that restroom before I heard any more. I would have stayed. That sounds hilarious. There was hot water in the toilet. Not that I directly touched the toilet water, but the whole thing was radiating heat. When I was younger, high school age, I had been constipated for a few days. I got the urge while I was in the mall and went to the bathroom. It was empty when I got there and was having a rough time pushing this meteorite out. Then I hear some people walk in, a man and a woman talking. Then they started making out. Now I was a pretty shy kid, so I tried hard not to make noise and be noticed. Next thing I know, I can see through the crack in the stall that the girl is taking off her pants. I guess it escalated to the point where I was getting nervous, which caused the giant crap I was trying to take to rock it out. They of course noticed, and she says, "Oh crap, someone's in here," then they rushed out. Nice constipated cock blocking my dude, haha. When I was a kid, my parents worked in a university as professors and I would go to their offices after school until they finished work and we would go home. Importantly, the men's and women's bathrooms were right next to each other, and they had the type of ceilings which are tiles resting on a grid type metal grid. One day, I was about 10 years old. I went to the bathroom. I was sitting on the toilet in the stall and for some reason looked up. Directly over my head, there was a guy looking down at me. He had climbed up from the men's side, removed the ceiling tiles, and was peeping at the female college students as they went to the bathroom. Apparently I was the first person that looks up even though I'm in the privacy of my own home with a solid ceiling. I walked into a public bathroom at a beach and found a big bearded guy nervously staring at the ceiling above the stall while using the only urinal. As I stepped past him toward the stall, he screamed stop. Since his hands were full of dong, he could only gesture upward with his head. I looked up and saw a very large pigeon sitting in a nest in the corner. With a super thick Slavic dialect, bearded guy says, "Never trust a mother bird." He washed his hands, still staring at the nest, and backed out of the bathroom. His hands were full of dong. My sister always believed in the importance of teaching her son, even from a young age, to use the correct terminology for genitalia. There was no "that's your pee-pee" or "those are your privates." It was always "that is your penis." So the day before Christmas Eve we are doing some last minute shopping. My nephew was mostly potty trained at this time. but still wore a diaper just in case. She goes off to do some shopping and I take him to the washroom for a change as he has had an accident. As I'm wiping him clean, he screams bloody murder in a washroom full of people. Auntie, don't touch my penis. I was freaking mortified, worrying that people are thinking I'm molesting him. So I say loudly, yet kindly, we have to make sure you're clean. I've never been so embarrassed in my life walking out of that stall. And to top it off, I was like 19 but definitely looked younger. TLDR. My nephew screamed at me not to touch his penis in a very busy mall bathroom the day before Christmas Eve. My 3-year-old nephew had an accident last week when I was over. His dad was cleaning him up and he blurted out, "Don't look at my pee-pee, aunt." Name. I wasn't looking anyway, but I'm glad it was just my brother around. Not 2 minutes later he pulled down his pants and said, "Look at my bum." Such an odd child. I walked into the bathroom at a hospital food court, was in dire need to relieve myself. As I walked in, I heard some thumping from one of the stalls, like someone was gently pounding on the stall walls. Then I saw 2 pairs of shoes, one in front of the other, under the closed stall door. Due to my need to empty my bladder, I decided to ignore what I saw and took care of business. As I was walking out, the stall door opened, and one of the food court employees came out, alone. He had been changing into his uniform on his way to work, including his shoes. I actually had thought it was 2 guys having sex in the stall. He must had thought I was crazy as I walked out of the bathroom laughing hysterically at myself. He must be confident in the cleaning staff to take off his shoes in the bathroom. I was out drinking one evening, went to go to the bathroom and there were 3 ladies blocking the guy's bathroom. They told me I couldn't go in. It was the only bathroom in the place and I had to pee bad. I waited about 20 seconds then pushed past them. As I walk in there is one dude at the end of the line of urinals with his dong out not facing a urinal. He's giving it a pep talk saying things like, "Come on bud, you can do it and don't let me down again." I take quite a long pee and he keeps talking to his dong the entire time. I exited the restroom and told my buddy what happened. He had to see it for himself so he went to the restroom. Same girls outside trying to stop him and same dude in there still trying to sweet talk his wang into doing something. Sitting on the toilet in a Denny's bathroom, the large plastic toilet paper holder was just missing the cover. So when I pulled on the toilet paper roll it fell off and rolled perfectly under the stall wall and fell over right behind the feet of a man standing at the urinal next door. The man must have seen it because I instantly hear him say, "Oh, I got it. Thanks," I said, expecting him to finish his business then help me out. What I did not expect was for him to bend down to pick it up right then and there, but not how one normally bends down. I can guarantee he was midstream when he leaned over backwards like fricking Neo in the Matrix. I see his legs bend forward then see his hand reaching down behind him. He bends over far enough to grab the roll. Stream still going. It was a urinal with water in the base so I could hear it. He grabs it and perfectly rolls it back over to me, gives a thumbs up, then stands straight up again. Unfricking real. Some say he's the toilet roll fairy, only appears once in a blue moon in the most dire of situations. The visuals I had when reading this story was hilarious. One time, I was taking a pee at a music venue, and this dude came up next to me taking a mean pee. With a loud audible sigh of relief, he looked at me and said, "The only thing that makes you moan more than coming is a good pee. Am I right?" Followed by, "I'm glad you laughed. I rarely tell that joke cause I've gotten my butt kicked a few times from it, but the 7/10 times it went good makes it worth it." Guess he must really like his odds. Let's be honest for a second, that guy is dang right. It's not very weird, but the first week I had moved to New Jersey from California I was in a bathroom and I heard 2 ladies speaking Spanish, but it was so different. They were speaking Spanish in a NJ accent and it confused the heck out of me. I'm trying to mentally hear that and I just keep getting Italian. I posted this before but here it is again. It was in my small college town, somewhere around 2015. It was Halloween, and I was stumbling back towards my dorm more than slightly intoxicated when I very urgently needed to pee. I'm not one for peeing in public, so I started looking around for places I could stop for the needed pit stop. There was a bar still open on the main strip I had to walk past, So I decided to shuffle in and try to get to the bathroom before a staff member could ask me to buy something. It was empty inside. People had mostly headed off to their separate Halloween parties. I somehow made it to the bathroom without incident, but immediately paused in place. Inside the bathroom were 4 men in hooded robes, standing silently and facing each other. I'm internally a little weirded out but also laughing, because Halloween shenanigans I'm sure. But then they all start moving, as though animated at once. One starts washing his hands for way longer than is necessary. One is just drying his hands for way longer than necessary, and I'm relatively sure it was never even wet in the first place. One of them is holding an M&M wrapper and he's peeling it into small pieces, flitting them to the inside of a nearby urinal and placing others in his pocket. He then handed me one of the torn pieces while asking me, "Do you fear death?" My dude, this guy's delivery was simultaneously one of the most hilarious and eerie things I've ever heard. Something about his inflection upwards on the "my dude" combined with the stone cold way the sentence began. I was unsure how to respond. I think I told him something like, "Hard to say, I've never almost died." He nodded as though my words were profound and affecting. They then all returned to their robotic strange bathroom rituals, not quite ever progressing in their respective tasks. I washed my hands, dried them, and walked out before any one of the men had finished whatever it is they seemed to be doing. The bathroom door clicked shut behind me, and suddenly I'm back in the sleepy bar ambience. Counters being wiped, and chair stacking was beginning. I shuffled out and away into the Halloween night, with no clear idea what the heck just happened. I'm sure they were just kids having some Halloween fun, and they were probably on some kinds of mild drugs. Whatever it was, I still remember it these several years later. You probably made their night. Posted this before, but it still makes me laugh. A guy tried to barge in on the stall I was crapping in after I said it was occupied, but I was almost done. He tried to open the door again and I pushed it open into him and asked him if he was deaf or stupid. I relate the tale to my friends back at our table. As I finish, the dude walks up to his table across the bar and starts signing to his friends. TL. DR. Asked a deaf person if they were deaf or stupid. ETA. The stall was missing its locking mechanism. When I saw that, I went to use the handicap accessible stall. However, the toilet there was filled literally to the rim with water, crap and TP. Normally in this situation I would just hold it, but I had been drinking and eating bar food all day. Well, on the plus side, he didn't hear you, so no harm done. I went into a Target to take a pee. After relieving myself, it was a photo finish. I turned to wash my hands. In the sink, there was a goldfish in a plastic bag. Now, Target doesn't sell fish, so it was kinda odd to say the least. I could tell there was a person in one of the stalls. Concerned that this goldfish had been abandoned, I nervously asked the dude in the stall if this was his fish in the sink. A deep butt voice boomed back at me. What I repeated my question, "Is this your fish in the sink?" There was a long pause, as if the Target pooper was trying to understand my question. He finally replied, "Nah, man, that ain't my fish." So I took it home, had to buy a whole setup, tank and filter, etc. And that's the story of how I rescued a goldfish from the Target bathroom. Same thing happened to me about a year ago, except I found my fish at a bus stop all by himself on my way home from work. Got the whole setup too and is still kicking it here to this day. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.